All right, everybody. Welcome to episode 136 of the Fantasy Timeline, a proud member of the Dynasty Addicts Podcast Network. I'm Josh at Real Fantasy TL. I am with the co-host with the most, Drew at DR_PRA. Drew, how you doing, man?
I'm excited to be here. We got some fun stuff going on tonight.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun and alert, we are going to be making a startup giraffe pick. So that's going to be fun. We'll talk about it throughout. We'll see who's on the board, what our team makeup looks like, and make a pick on here. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So let's hit up this news first and foremost. First things first, Terry McLaurin. He is getting a 3-year extension. I think it tops out at about $70 million. How are you feeling about this in general for the Commanders and for fantasy?
I don't know that I'm super surprised by it. I mean, he's their best wide receiver at this point. He's got he's probably in his prime, got a few more good years left. So I think it makes sense for them to try to lock him up there. And I don't know that it does a lot for me for fantasy as far as moves him up or down, depending on, I guess, how you feel about the Commanders as a franchise. Maybe you wish he was going to get traded instead and go somewhere else. But overall, he's gotten pretty good usage.
Yeah, and the thing about that is I am surprised, and I'll tell you why. Because it's actually a good move by the Commanders. They don't make a lot of them. Sorry to all the Commanders fans out
Fair.
there, but let's face it. I'm not lying about it. So I was a little surprised. I honestly, if you had told me to bet money on it, I would have bet that they would have. I would say either find a trade for him or let him go. But let's face it, the Commanders don't even usually make moves smart enough to trade a guy that has some value. So they probably just would have let him go for free. That would have been my bet. Uh, but they did the right thing here. I mean, they have Terry McLaurin, who's been proven to be a very good wide receiver in the NFL, and they used the first round pick on Jahan Dotson, so they're kind of building up that wide receiver room there, uh, giving Carson Wentz again. We talk about Commanders and maybe not making the right move. Uh, Carson Wentz as at quarterback, so you'll have to say that. I mean, the funny part about it is if you're looking at just wide receivers, he's probably got better wide receivers than he did last year. I mean, I know we all love Michael Pittman, but really, like who was there after Michael Pittman? You got what that Paris Campbell one game,
Mm-hmm.
45-year-old T.Y. Hilton, with Ashton Doolin, um, a couple of Indianapolis substitute teachers. I mean, it wasn't a great wide receiver room. And even if you look at tight end, I mean, what were they rocking last year? Jack Doyle, Mo Alley Cox. So it wasn't, a murderer's row there. I think the passing weapons for Wentz will be better. So we'll see what happens. Maybe they get a quarterback in 23, but I feel like we've been saying that for like the last 5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they'll get a quarterback this year. Maybe they'll get it, and they can't seem to find the guy. So good for Terry McLaurin. I'm glad he's getting his money.
Yeah.
He's always in that top 15 wide receiver range for fantasy. Um, I'm kind of with you. I don't think it really moves the needle that much as far as his fantasy value. Um, he's still on the Commanders. He still has some uncertainty at quarterback, but he is a good wide receiver. So good for him. And then this was interesting. I think we want to talk about this for a little bit. This was Baker Mayfield when he was asked, if Deshaun Watson gets a year's suspension, which it looks like he might be on track for now. You never know until you know, but it's looking that way. Uh, would he play for the Browns for a year to weather that storm? And he kind of his quote was, "We're ready to move on." I think on both sides. Now he also said after that that you know if that were to happen, they would need to reach out to him. Um, what does this mean? What does Baker mean for? I think the three teams that he is most connected with, which is obviously the team that still has him under contract now, the Browns, and then the two teams that we've heard have been close to trading for him for weeks now, the Panthers and the Seahawks. What do you think? And for fantasy, where would you like to see him go? And saying staying on the Browns for a year is an acceptable answer if that's your answer.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be. If I were to rank these in order of likelihood, it feels like Seahawks are probably one, Panthers two, Browns a distant third. I don't think Baker's a mature enough person to be a professional through it, which I get. It doesn't feel good to be in his position here, but I don't think he's going to be that consummate professional that's going to go out there and put his head down, do his work, put up results, and hope he gets a better situation afterwards. Um, I think I think he and Pete Carroll would probably get along pretty well. So uh, I know a lot of people don't see him as much of an upgrade over Drew Lock, but there's a pretty significant gap in the draft capital and that they both had. And yeah, I'm good with him going to either the Panthers or the Seahawks. Yeah, I think the Panthers probably have better weapons around him with DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey. So he might do a little bit better there. But yeah, I think he's got to get out of Cleveland, though, is the bottom line. I don't see him staying unless he just absolutely does not have a better offer anywhere else.
All right. So I think for fantasy, if we're just going to go with fantasy, I actually think his best situation is the Panthers. Um, they got good weapons there. You got Christian McCaffrey. Everybody keeps telling me this is the year he stays healthy and plays a bunch of games. So if they're right, you have
Okay.
Christian McCaffrey, you have DJ Moore. They used a high pick to get a starting left tackle, so they're kind of working on that line. Um, and they have a coach who I think is more willing to throw the ball than Pete
Hmm.
Carroll in Seattle. Now, the weapons in Seattle, I mean, you got DK Metcalf, you have Tyler Lockett. Um, you know, some people have said that the Rashad Penny train has finally pulled into the station, and we better all get on board because he's going to be a top, 12 running back. That's a thing. They also drafted Kenneth Walker in the second round, so
Hmm.
that's another thing. Um, they also used a very high pick on a left tackle. So, uh, you got two situations which aren't too bad. I actually think if I actually think the best situation, and I would be for him to stay with the Browns, but I didn't even count that because I don't think it's going to happen. And to be honest, people are, I hear a lot of older uh, analysts on all the big stations say, well, Baker should just, go back to the Browns and, you know, mend relationships and do all this stuff. And it's by a lot of people that have big contracts with these stations. They know they're not getting moved out for the new hotness for the next guy down the line. They're safe and secure. So and I bet you a lot of these dudes will be pretty damn petty if, you know, I get hired tomorrow for a bigger contract than what they're making to do the same job that they're doing after they've been there. And let's face it, Baker Mayfield, number one overall pick, right? That doesn't mean a lot because that honestly, after you get picked, anything can happen. We've seen
Yeah.
number one picks flame out. But he took Cleveland to their first playoff win in like 97 years.
Hmm.
Not only did he get them to their first playoff win, they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in that game. The vaunted enemy the team that, the big brother that's always been holding them down and shutting them out. And now it's just like, cool. You know, we didn't pull you out of games last year when your shoulder was torn to shreds. We allowed you to keep playing. And now we're just like, hey, thanks for sacrificing yourself for us, but you're out of here. We don't want you anymore. If I was Baker Mayfield, then I got probably a dozen years or more on Baker Mayfield. I wouldn't go back either. I'd be like, oh, now you put yourself in a situation because you had me, and I've proven that I can win in the NFL, and I've proven that I can help a team get to the playoffs and beat a perennial powerhouse in the Pittsburgh Steelers in the playoffs. And then you took this other guy who has all kinds of issues. It's not like you took a guy who, squeaky clean, never had a problem, that this man literally has 99 problems. Literally has 99 problems. And you took him and you thought you were just going to be able to trade me and get what you wanted. And people are like, well, wait a minute. You have to trade this guy now. So we can give you whatever we want, because you either have to take what we give you or keep this guy. Good luck with that. Or cut him. So they put themselves in this situation, and now other people are saying, well, he should just go back and mend fences. No, it wouldn't be me. I'm sorry. Hey, you put yourself in this situation, and get yourself right back out. That's what I would say. So I don't blame Baker at all. I think the best situation for him in like a 1-year context would be to go to Carolina. Because let's face it, Matt Rule on the hot seat. If he makes a trade for Baker Mayfield is getting all the run, because he's on the hot seat. And as much as people want to clown on Baker, and trust me, Baker hasn't had the best career, hasn't had a Hall of Fame career. He's better than Sam Darnold. Like, come on, he's better than Sam Darnold. And I hope people at me with the Sam Darnold is better, so I can just put the laughing, crying faces all over it and walk away. But
so we're not taking Sam Darnold as QB1 for our team, is what you're saying?
I mean, listen, we wait 2 more rounds, we might be taking Sam Darnold as QB1. we zigged when everyone else zagged, but now we've zagged ourselves into a position where quarterback is late, and so are we. So that'll be interesting to see what we do with this pick and how we go with it. But yeah, man, I mean, to everybody saying Baker needs to just toughen up and go back to the team with no. They wouldn't do it if they were in the situation, even though they're preaching for him to do it, and I wouldn't do it either. So good for Baker. Tell them, hey, you got 17 games of Jacoby Brissett this year. Good luck with that. I hope it works out the best for you guys. And if Jacoby Brissett gets injured, I don't even know who's on the team after that. But yeah, so that's how I feel about that. But all right, let's go to the timeline. Let's get it on and popping here with the timeline. And the first one here, I say it every week. I put out the tweet. We put out the tweet. We say, hey, if you got questions, let us know. And Recovering Ridley Truther, he hit us up at CWC Wood 1 and says, what are you guys doing with older wide receivers like Tyreek, A-Rob, etc.? Have a few shares on the same team, trying to package them for a Higgins, Waddle, Lamb deal, but want to keep a couple in case they pop for league contention. Hope that made sense. Thoughts? All right, so this is kind of an interesting question. Like I said, we'll tie it back to the to the startup that we're in, and we are what? We're 310 right now, right?
Yep.
Three 310. So I think guys like Tyreek Hill still on the board. Guys like let me hit the buttons real quick and see who is still available at wide receiver. Uh Mike Evans still available. And he might not even be that old. 28. So not like old, but I mean Tyreek is 28 too. So Keenan Allen still on the board. Uh, let's scroll a little bit. You know, Amari Cooper still on the board. So, really the only quote unquote old guy. Well, I guess Stephon Diggs, if 28 is old, is an old guy. He just got taken at 309 right before our pick. Um, I know that Devontae Adams was taken, but those are really like the only old wide receivers, right? Am I missing anyone? How old is Cooper Cup? 29, so he's old. He got
Yeah.
taken, but I mean, he's being taken after winning the wide receiving triple crown. So,
Yeah.
um, you got a lot of guys who have proven it over the years that aren't being taken high in startups. And by the way, this is a league where you start three wide receivers. So wide receivers have a little bit of extra value because of how many you have to start. And we're still seeing guys like Tyreek Hill that might be taken in the fourth round. So I I mean I'm keeping these guys unless like you know what do you think A Rob and a 23 first can get you Jalen Waddle?
That'd be a tough ask.
I mean,
Yeah,
by
I
the way,
think
Jalen Waddle was taken in this draft at like he just got
like
taken a few picks
305 or something. Yeah.
307. So, I mean, he's on the board, and guys like Tyreek, or he's off the board, excuse me, and guys like Tyreek Hill are still on the board. T. Higgins was taking the pick after him at 308.
Yeah.
So those guys are off the board. Tyreek Hill is still on the board. I mean, we took CD Lamb at 205. So like I don't know. Like you're adding, and what are you adding? Like I mean, I could see trying to make a deal with A Rob because he's at best the number two option on that team. He's not, but you know, T. Higgins, I guess, is technically the number two, but he plays a lot like a number one.
Yeah.
Jalen Waddle, we'll see how that works out this year because we don't know. We don't know what the offense is going to be, new head coach. And we don't know, Tua has a relationship with Waddle from last year. Does he instantly find it with Tyreek, or is it more of a, you know, hey, I got my guy that I'm used to, and you're going to get yours too, but he's going to be kind of my 1A. You're going to be my 1B. That's going to be, there's question marks around, you know, a Waddle and a Hill. So, I'm thinking if you can get, if, you know, if A Rob in a first, I don't think it gets you CD Lamb. That could be bias. That could be my own Dallas Cowboy bias in there, but I mean, you're not a Cowboys fan, so you could tell me if I'm, wild in thinking that a 23 first and A Rob doesn't get you Lamb.
No, I mean,
But
I was ready to take Lamb early where we took him because I think he's set up for a good year and moving forward. I think Higgins is probably the most accessible out of that trio because people are still debating on whether he'll really keep his place with Jamar Chase there. So yeah, A Robin, yeah, whatever you want to throw. If you want to try to throw first at Higgins, I think personally I'd be looking at trying to move Tyreek for as high a pick as you can get. If you can get a 23 first for him, hopefully maybe he starts off pretty quick and gets a couple big plays. They force him the ball in the first couple of weeks, and then yeah, maybe you flip him at that point for a 23 first if you've got decent depth behind him. Otherwise, I mean, A-Rob is a guy I'm trying to go get in a lot of leagues. Try to downplay the age. Took a year off, didn't have a great year, new situation. And, I hope I can snag him for, I don't even know what I'd send at this point. I'm through most of my startups, but I would have thrown a mid late second at him and see if I could add him to my team versus some of the guys that were going at that point in these drafts. So A-Rob is a guy I'd be trying to get. I don't know that you're going to get the value. Really, Truther put in the chat here. ADP and trade values don't really align. So yeah, A-Rob, I don't know that where you're going to get value for him unless he starts off well with Stafford. So he's a guy I'm holding. I'm going to give him the first few weeks, give him until October, see if Stafford makes the connection there, which I truly believe he could. I mean, he made OBJ look like he turned the clock back a few times. So, yeah, I think I hold A-Rob at least till the season starts. And if you get somebody that really believes in what Tyreek is saying, that he's building the connection with Tua, that he really believes that Tua is going to get him the ball and let him do his thing, then great, move him for a first now. But both these guys are probably holds until you see what shakes out early in the season.
So here's the thing. He's saying he's trying to package them and get younger at the position. So are you almost making a continuation play where maybe you trade Tyreek Hill for a 23 first if someone has him and then move the first right away to try to get Higgins or Waddle?
No, I didn't really take into that consideration. Like if you're trying to connect the two, then I would think Tyreek and A-Rob should get you to Higgins. I don't know if Tyreek and A-Rob will get you to Waddle because I think a lot of people are still kind of seeing Tyreek and Waddle valued similarly. They might not say it, but I think most people would probably expect that Tyreek outscores Waddle by a little bit this year. But I think that balance shifts pretty quickly, just because Waddle is so talented as well. I don't think those two together will get you anywhere near Lamb, though.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. I mean, I almost think no matter who out of those older wide receivers you take, you're gonna need like a 23 first to get to one of the young guys, I mean, let's do it this way. Do you think anyone's doing Tyreek for Higgins straight up? Or I shouldn't say anyone, because there are people that will do it, but what do you think the likelihood is?
You might get 5% of managers that will say yes to that. So 1 in 20. If you're in 20 leagues, and if you have Tyreek in 20 leagues, you might get one person to say yes to that.
Tyreek for Waddle? That's interesting because they're both on the same team, and I don't know how. Like, I wouldn't know. I would want the younger guy, personally.
Same. I would want the younger guy who flashed with the current quarterback.
Right. Even though the current quarterback might not be the current quarterback in 2023.
Hall of Fame.
Oh, you stopped me in my tracks on that one.
I said what I
said. Yeah, we all heard you too. People are gonna go back. I got to learn how to clip the videos so that I can just I can throw these out at you when the time it comes. But yeah, it's a tough one because I think unfortunately the guys that you're talking about have a lot of question marks. Like here's a guy, and I talked about him, and he was taken already in this draft. Like Devontae Adams. Like yes, he has questions because he's going to a new team, but this was his college quarterback, and the weapons I don't think scare you as much. Like yes, Hunter Renfrow was a wide receiver 1 last year, but that was more because Hunter Renfrow was it. Like it was Hunter Renfrow, and Zay Jones. like I mean, because guys got injured, and
Yeah.
The unfortunate Henry Ruggs situation. But Waller was injured, so on and so forth. So you're looking at it now and you go, yeah, Renfrow is good, but is Renfrow
I like
the dude
this one?
What's this one? Oh, here we go. AJ Brown is another guy I'm trying to pivot Tyreek plus to get. Now that's interesting.
I think that's realistic, and I would do that pretty quickly.
what's the plus if a plus is needed in this situation?
I don't think he should need a plus. Yeah, I mean, a third, great. You want to take another dart throw next year, a 23 third, maybe that has a little cachet with it, but I'm not throwing much more out there. I mean, it would have to be like your sixth or seventh wide receiver, or maybe your fifth or sixth running back. If maybe that other team needs a little depth going into the season, and you want to throw him I don't know, Jamal Williams or something like that, great, go for it.
Can I tell you a secret? It's very interesting that this player was brought up, but let me tell you a secret. I'm a little worried about AJ Brown, and here's why. Not because he's not talented; like he's super talented. That's not. It's about the guy throwing to him. And I know we're like Jalen Hurts. He's going to throw better this year. Watch, he's going to throw better. Watch, and I heard that last year. He's going to throw better, and he did. He had a higher completion percentage, but last year they won games when they ran the ball. They just did. They tried, the Jalen Hurts throw it 35 times a game thing at the beginning of the season, and they were getting whitewashed. And then Nick Sirianni, to his credit, said, "We ain't winning games. Let's switch this around." So you got AJ Brown with a quarterback that is, I mean, at best average with his arm, average. And in Tennessee, there was no wide receiver too. It was the corpse of Julio Jones and the potential of Corey Davis, but they got Devonta Smith, who was pretty good as a rookie last year, and Dallas Goddard, who, yeah, he might be more hype than actual production, but I think is a good NFL tight end. I mean, yikes! I think things could be worse for AJ Brown than we want to say in public because we like AJ Brown, the guy. He's a great Twitter follow. He, never hear anything bad about the guy. You never hear, that he's getting in trouble, staying out late, doing anything crazy. But,
So
I
if we
think in
had to
that
take one of
situation,
these two right now, would you rather take Tyreek with Tua, or would you rather take AJ Brown with Hurts?
you're gonna
If we
make me
had to
say
add
it,
one of
man.
these two guys to our team,
You're gonna make me say it, aren't you? I
I
take
am.
Tyreek, man. I take Tyreek.
Okay. Okay.
And
Well,
and don't get me wrong. I mean, Tua scares the hell out of me too. But I've seen Tyreek do it on an offense where there's another dude that can get his. We've seen him do it with Travis Kelsey on the field. Another dude that can get
that's
his.
fair.
I don't think we've ever seen AJ Brown do it with another guy on the field that can get his.
Except in college.
So, sure, except in college, but I mean, let's face it, in the NFL is a whole new bag, man. It's a whole new bag, and you know, it's gonna be interesting. That division is all. That division has also never been good, and you can laugh at the NFC East all you want, but come on, Jacksonville, Houston, that was 4 games a season, and I mean, say what you want about the New York Giants and the Washington Commanders, but they've pretty consistently had better records than those two teams. So, there is a slight upgrade in talent
Mm.
in the now Indianapolis is probably better than maybe any team in the NFC East, to be honest, but you only have to play them twice. So, um
Yeah, I know.
yeah,
That's a fun one, really, truly. I think I lean your direction, trying to get a little younger, and I believe in AJ Brown. Josh is giving you the
but
maybe
but I
not.
think that but I do think that's the trade you try to make, since I think we both, I mean, because Drew, you even said, I don't think a plus is necessary to get there. So maybe that's the trade you do. You go, hey, I'll get a little bit younger. I'm not giving up anything extra, or if I am, it's a third or a fourth or something silly like that. And you move on and you go, hey, I got younger. And look, even if Tyreek smashes in Miami, right? What's he smashing for? 2 more years? Like, if AJ Brown if I'm 100% right about everything with AJ Brown, they're getting a new quarterback in 2023. And they have draft capital on top of it. They have 2 first-round picks. So they have ammunition, depending on where they land, to move up and get a quarterback in a class where apparently there's supposed to be like 4 guys that are supposed to be good. So, you know, that's something else to think of too. It may not just be like, even if AJ Brown it is tough to handle for this year, you are probably looking at a new quarterback in 2023, which might, spring hope again. So that 2 good questions by our man Ridley Truther, and remember, man, you put something on that tweet, it'll probably get on the show. Next one here is from Thomas O'Brien at Thomas O 544-73516. I'll give the PSA. Thomas.
More numbers,
Come on,
man.
You don't need your social security number at the end of this thing, man. It's identity theft, man. Protect yourself. Don't put your SSN at the end of this thing. What would you rather have in a 12-team PPR Superflex dynasty? Zach Wilson and Hollywood Brown or Deshaun Watson? And I put this up here for a reason because I'm not going to give the percentages out yet, but they're lopsided. One side got significantly more than the other side. So Drew, let's start with you. If you were presented with this trade, which side would you be happier about? The Zach Wilson and Hollywood Brown side or the Deshaun Watson side?
This for me falls into the where do I see my team category. So if I want points this year, then I'll take Zach Wilson, a starting quarterback, and Hollywood, who I think is going to do well, at least for the first few weeks, especially once he acclimates a little bit with Kyler. If I'm looking for, what I think is long-term value and I want to shoot for the upside, then yeah, I'll take Watson. If I'm willing to sit on this year, potentially shed the points and see what I have in 2023. I would not expect it to be as imbalanced as it is, because I think there's a pretty strong case to be made for either or. I thought you put this up here because Zach Wilson is one of our options right now at the quarterback position.
Zach Wilson is one of our options. And I know we got a few people from the draft that are keeping tabs on us to see if we give anything away before we make the pick. But Zach Wilson is one of our options. So I put this on here, and I'll give my rationale, and then I will after I give the percentages. So 66.8% went with the Zach Wilson Hollywood Brown side, and 33.2% went with the Deshaun Watson side. And here's my thing. This is one of those, gambles, and this is why it's a gamble. Because right now, Deshaun Watson is suspended for 0 games. Now, we're all pretty confident that by the end of this thing, he's going to be suspended for a certain number of games. We don't know if that's going to be, 6, 8, 10, the whole season. Who knows? But right now, I think is when you should be able to get your highest value, because there's still hope that it's a 8-game suspension and he plays half the season. And he's the guy from Houston who was a top 5 guy all the time. This is one of those deals that you take kind of after you find out it's a 10, 12, 14 game suspension, whole season suspension, something like that. Because, yeah, if you need points and Deshaun is suspended for the season, Hollywood and Zach Wilson are going to get you more than 0, most likely, unless they both somehow get season-ending injuries, in training camp, which is highly unlikely. But I mean, we're in a league. Deshaun Watson was taken at the 206.
Yep.
Guess who's still on the board? Zach Wilson and Hollywood Brown, and we're at the 310. So, I mean, again, trade value and ADP don't line up. But using it as an example to say, like, hey, this is kind of where we're valuing players right now on June 29th. And the value would say Deshaun Watson, greater sign, those two guys by a lot. Because I mean, let's face it, unless we break down and take Zach Wilson, is who's going to take him? When is they going to get taken? Hollywood. I mean, there's only been a handful of wide receivers off the board. There's still guys like Tyreek Hill hanging out that we just spoke about, in the last one. There's some
Yep.
good wide receivers. Keenan Allen, I mentioned. A lot of good wide receivers still hanging out. So, I mean, Marquise might be sitting another 2 or 3 rounds before his name is called. So it's like one of those things. Would you trade a mid-second round and a startup for, let's even say we break down and we take him, right? We take Zach Wilson, late third, for a late third and a sixth? Would you do that startup trade? Probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not. So, I mean, that's kind of what I'm saying here is that for the fact that that side got almost 67% of the vote is kind of crazy. And maybe it's just, the news hasn't been good the last month for Deshaun. So maybe people are just resigning themselves to the fact that he's going to be gone for a year and there's nothing any of us can do about it. And that could be true. I mean, it could be a year and he's done. But even so, like, you're going to have him in 2023. This is a dynasty league. This isn't redraft. This is super flex. It's not one QB, kind of all the precursors. And yeah, I think if this was offered to me, I have one share of Deshaun Watson. And for that, I would keep Deshaun Watson personally. Like, so that's why I put it on there. I wanted to see if you got the same vibes I did, or if you were kind of going with the majority here and saying, nah, I get, Zach Wilson and Hollywood. And but hey, listen, to each their own. If you can make the trade every time. Make the trade. All right, this next one here is from Lugu at Lugu Dynasty. This is a Dynasty Superflex, which actually doesn't matter to Superflex for this question. CMC, run CMC, Christian McCaffrey, or our guy again, Hollywood Brown, and Chris Godwin. This is another one where I was very surprised. Who would you go with here? You going with the Christian McCaffrey side, or are you taking Hollywood and Chris Godwin?
Man, that is tough. I want the Hollywood and Godwin side because I think that they're going to play more games and ultimately score more points this year than Christian McCaffrey. I think I would struggle with this where I think I would hope I could get more value for CMC once the season starts. But he's another guy who's sitting on our board right now at the 310 in a startup.
All right.
So
spoiler alert, he's still going to be sitting there. So everybody in the league, your hopes, your dreams are still alive. You can still have Christian McCaffrey on the squad. I'm not, there's actually a better chance of us taking Zach Wilson than there is of us taking Christian McCaffrey.
100%.
I will put that out there. You can bet that in Vegas right now. Better shot that we take Zach Wilson, but keep on going.
Yeah. So I think the pragmatic side of me would say go Hollywood, go Godwin. I think the gambler side would say, yeah, I'll take CMC and then trust that he has a couple of good weeks and I can turn him into something a little bit more. But even then, once you get into the season, I mean, what happens if Hollywood has 3 touchdowns by week 2? So yeah, I'm with the Hollywood side on this one.
Yeah, so am I, and it's not very hard for me. Look, could Christian McCaffrey show up this year, play 14, 15 games, and be the RB1 in a landslide? Absolutely. Do I think the odds of that are high? Absolutely not. Listen, you'll get all the people that say, You can't predict injuries. Injuries are random. I get it. But you know what's not random? Running backs breaking down. And trust me, there are very few, if any, running backs that got as many touches as Christian McCaffrey did leading up to 2 years ago when we started seeing injuries that were keeping him out. I mean, dude was getting, 200 rushes and then over 100 targets on top, or over 100 receptions, honestly. I mean, like, you can only do that for so long before you start breaking down, unless you're a cyborg like Adrian Peterson or like Danian Tomlinson. Like, those are the only guys that were getting work like that never really like hit the wall until like age got to them. But that's it. And we're even starting to see it a little bit with Zeke. And it's funny because Zeke has played more games, but yet we are like down on Zeke. We're like, Zeke, this dude stinks. Like, and it's like, but wait a minute, dude has always been a top 12 running back since he's entered the league. And one of those years he was suspended for 6 games. He was still a top 12 running back. Like, think about that. He got a 0 in 6 games and was still a top 12 running back. So we kicked that dude to the curb and he plays. He doesn't miss games. But we're like, you got to take Christian McCaffrey early because he can get 30 points a week, and he can. Well, if he only does it for 4 weeks, who cares? Like, you can victory tour for 4 weeks, and then what? Now, if you're betting, hey, he plays 14 and he's gonna average 30 for 14 weeks, dude, you got a league winner. But I've seen a dude break down 2 years in a row, and not in a
Yeah.
good way. Not that there's a good way to break down, but still, it won't be me. Not in any startup, unless it's like really late where I'm like, okay, the hate is real, but the hate would have to be really real. And it's not. Like, I've done a couple startups and the hate ain't real. Like, he's getting taken with decent draft capital. He's not getting taken, 101, 102 anymore like he used to. But, I've seen him taken in the second round a couple times, startup, third round, fourth round. Like, he's always taken before Zeke.
Yeah.
And you know,
Oh yeah.
you
For
know
sure.
Zeke is going to play every week. Yeah, it's not going to be 30 points a week like Christian McCaffrey, but dude's going to play every week. He's either going to have a very average game or a big blow up game. He doesn't really have bad games where you're like, oh, my RB2 scored me, 3 points. I don't really have those games, but might be 12, and you're like, ugh, I wish that was like 18. But, you know, that's why I was very surprised because it's 38% for the Hollywood and Godwin side and 62% for the CMC side. And I'm just like, man, Hollywood is going to be like kind of all by himself. I mean, Zach Ertz will be there for the first 6 weeks, but that's it in the pass game. Like, for the first 6 weeks, DeAndre Hopkins is going to be suspended, and then you know Chris Godwin is probably going to miss the first 6 weeks at least of the season. So if you get him week 8 and he kind of hits the ground running with Tom Brady throwing him the ball, that's nice. Like,
Yeah.
you're going to be happy about that. So, man, I mean, we still love ourselves some Christian McCaffrey. Maybe I'm too low on him. I don't know, but such is life. You know
We got to
what?
skip down to this other one here. We got to skip down to one here, and then we got to make our pick.
All right. Read it off.
Ron Stewart. At Ron Stewart _. He says, give me Albert O over Dawson Knox in all formats.
I'm gonna let you go first because I know you got to have some feelings on that.
Why did you put this on here, Josh?
I put it on here because I don't know if you read further. I don't know if you looked at the tweet and read further.
I did not.
Okay,
I did not.
But before we read further, I want you to give your opinion on it. Why is this unequivocally the wrong take to have?
You always go with the guy that has Josh Allen throwing him the ball. No, I think Alberto has a good chance to be decent this year. I see Dawson Knox probably pretty close to what I expect Albert O's season to be. If Albert O has a season this year like Dawson Knox had last year, I think we'll all be very, very happy. And then some of those trades that people made after Noah Fant got traded will be more justified. But he's still competing with some good talent around him. You got Cortland Sutton, you got Jerry Jeudy, who should bounce back. You've got Tim Patrick is still there. You've got two very good running backs coming out of the backfield. So yeah, I don't know that I see Albert O just absolutely blowing up with Russ. I love, huge upgrade for the Broncos having Russ there. So really nice boost. And I've got Albert O in probably, 3 or 4 different leagues. So I'm certainly hoping that there's some upside there. And there's, I know Dawson Knox was touchdown heavy last year. So a lot of people are rightfully so, saying that's not necessarily going to be repeatable. But outside of Stephon Diggs, we got Jamison Crowder. I think Gabe Davis will still get some of his. I don't know that he's going to gain a lot. His first 2 years average of targets is still relatively middle of the road. What was he, 60, 65 each year, something like that? So I don't see that, ballooning to 80 or 100 targets. So I think there will be enough to go around for Dawson Knox to have enough usage this year. So out of those two, I think it's probably closer than I made it out to be to start, but certainly some personal feelings in there. But I think, for the two, unless there's a huge, huge difference in ADP or cost to get one on your team, I'll still roll with Dawson Knox in most formats.
All right. So Ron gave some of them statistics that we all like to take looks at. So Dawson Knox, elite quarterback, he says, 3 wide receivers ahead in the pecking order. I don't know if that's true with the 3 wide receivers. Yes, Stephon Diggs definitely ahead of him. He actually had more targets than Gabe Davis last year. So that's an interesting little tidbit. And then I guess the third wide receiver would be Jamison Crowder, which I wouldn't be shocked if Crowder has more targets than Knox this year. Speed score 109, which is the 86th percentile. Targets per route run 15%. That's tied for 41st. Yards per route run 1.29, which is 30th. Well, let's go to Albert O. Albert O, elite quarterback. May even have the better quarterback. I had to throw that in there on Drew because Drew hates Russ Wilson. 3 wide receivers ahead in the pecking order, which I think is probably right. Speed score 129.6, which is in the 100th percentile. So 100th percentile versus 86th percentile, so better speed score. Targets per route run 24%, which is tied for 6th, which is better than Dawson Knox, tied for 41st. And then yards per route run 1.99, which is tied for 6th, as opposed to 30th for Dawson Knox. So when Albert O was on the field, Albert O did some things. And there's no Noah Fant there to keep him off the field. So Ron Stewart with some very persuasive stats. And honestly, I've been saying it, and I know Drew does not like it when I say it, but I have a feeling that Dawson Knox is the 2022 version of Bob Tonyan. We got happy about a guy that scored us a bunch of touchdowns. And hey, listen, that's exciting, but we've never really seen it from Dawson Knox before. And then we see it one time, and I hate chasing those tight ends that do it one time. Before 2021, Dawson Knox never had 30 receptions in a season. That's crazy. Great, 30 receptions. I feel like there's like fullbacks that can get you 30 receptions. Never had before 2021. Never had 400 yards receiving before 2021. That's not a lot of yards. Never had more than 4 touchdowns in a season before 2021. I mean, it just was like Dawson Knox. I'm sure in some later rounds we might have a Dawson Knox argument, like we had a disagreement about who to take in the first. And I'm
Should have
not
taken
doing it.
Russ.
Hey, listen. I'm not here. We took who we took, and we're gonna build a damn good team. I'm not worried about that. We're gonna build a damn good team. But Dawson Knox ain't gonna be on it. I'm sorry, Drew. You know, I would have loved to have had Stephon, who went the pick before us. I'm not anti Buffalo Bill. Hell, there might be a Devin Singletary spotting on the squad. I like Singletary too. Dawson Knox, no sir.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
he's not. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen because I am not convinced. We see this all the time, man. We see this all the time. We see the Logan Thomases of the world, the Bob Tonyans of the world that have these blow up season after they've been in the league for a little bit. And yeah, Dawson Knox has only been in the league for 3 years. So maybe this was the breakout, the 30-year breakout that we used to talk about wide receivers all the time. But man, that offense is very good. And all they did was just, they added weapons. They drafted Khalil Shakir. They got Jamison Crowder in free agency. They drafted James Cook. Like, they didn't stand pat. They brought more weapons, and I don't think that spells fantasy.
Did not draft a tight end. I mean, they brought in OJ Howard for whatever he's worth.
They brought in OJ Howard. I mean, they did not love Dawson Knox so much that they didn't bring in
He needs a breather. He needs a substitute.
Dawson Knox don't get hurt. OJ Howard is just waiting in the wings that's been OJ Howard's problem though. OJ Howard's problem has been staying healthy. So maybe he gets to sit on the bench, rest up. He's not putting his body through that wear and tear. And then just waiting for Dawson Knox in the wings. Just like, don't get hurt, Dawson, because if you do, I'm not gonna have all that tight end one wear and tear on the body. So it'll be interesting to see, but very interesting argument made for Albert O over Dawson Knox. And I'm not gonna lie, Albert O, he can have a spot on the squad. Dawson Knox, however, he's on the no-fly list. He's not on any team that I have. He is on the no-fly list. You can have him, you can do whatever you want with him, but he's not going to be on my squad. So,
all right. Well, we're not there yet. We got more time.
We got more. Well, you know what we don't have more time for? Making this damn pick, Drew. We've strung people along long enough. We got to make this damn pick. So we are in a 14-team Superflex Dynasty League. It is PPR, and there is a 2.0 tight end premium. So these tight ends, they're going to score 10 points. So in the first round, we went with tight end 1, Mark Andrews. Then, I should say this. We're out of the 10th pick. So we're picking 10th in all the odd number rounds. We're picking 5th in all the even number rounds, obviously barring any trades that might get made. So 110, we go Mark Andrews, tight end 1. Then second round, quarterbacks, they got Gross very quick. We could have taken an Aaron Rodgers. We could have taken a Kirk Cousins. Value wasn't there. And, we tried trading back. No one wanted to trade back with us. Everyone in that league is scared of us. And I get it. We're two handsome, elite level dynasty players. And they don't want to give us extra ammunition to beat them with. So we couldn't trade back. So we went with CeeDee Lamb. I think we both can agree CeeDee Lamb. He is he's gonna be the guy in town. Amari Cooper traded. Michael Gallup is going to be injured for a while. Jalen Tolbert was taken in the third round, but third round rookies, can't expect them to just hit the ground running day one and just produce at elite levels. So, Drew, what do you think about quarterback here? Let me read off some of these quarterbacks because we have zero quarterbacks right now. Third round, 14 teams, Superflex. We have zero, count them, zero quarterbacks. Quarterbacks still left on the board. We got Tom Brady. We got Matt Ryan. And I'm just reading this in order of ADP. We got Marcus Mariota, Ryan Tannehill, famous Jameis Winston, Mitchell Trubisky, Carson Wentz, Zach Wilson, who we spoke about earlier, Davis Mills, Jared Goff, and Daniel Jones. That's kind of the first page here. I'm not going to go any further than that because I don't think we need to. So how are you feeling about these quarterbacks at 310? What does anyone get you hot and bothered? Only one guy gets me hot and bothered.
Neither hot nor bothered.
That's the only guy that gets me hot and bothered. He's only going to play for a year, but he's probably going to have damn near 5,000 yards and probably 40, 45 touchdowns, and that's Tom Brady. That's it. That's the only guy that I'm like, and I think that's because at this point, if we don't take a quarterback, dude, we might be fighting over like Marcus Mariota versus Jameis Winston. Like we could be in those depths real quick because the first couple of rounds of this startup, QB heavy is an understatement.
It is.
I'm not going to count up the amount of quarterbacks taken, but I'm guessing it's between like 16 and 20 in the first 37 picks.
There are a couple of bold moves to there's a couple of QB rooms here that look stacked to start. I forgot what we've got here. A Kyler Murray and a Justin Herbert combo, was it? Or Josh Allen and Kyler Murray and
something like that. But we got to remember too, those guys are going to have some very interesting decisions to make when it comes to what the rest of the team looks like. Yeah, quarterback, they're going to be set, barring injury and barring bye weeks. But it's like, okay, what does everybody else look like? So we have a Josh Allen, Kyler Murray quarterback room.
Nice.
We got a Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes quarterback room.
Nice.
Here's an interesting one. The other Drew. Trey Lance, Matthew Stafford. That's an interesting one. Any other? Here we go. We got the young quarterback room here from not Scott's team. Joe Burrow and Mac Jones. A little bit of country and a little bit of rock and roll there for you if you like that in your quarterback room. Here's another one. Derek Carr and Lamar Jackson. That's a low key very nice quarterback room.
And I don't think they had to give much up to get that. I think those were just straight picks.
Yeah,
that was nice.
Yeah.
That was nice.
That's policy, Gronks. I do want to shout these teams out that we're talking about right now. All right, here's one. Our DAP Network brothers, friends of the show, Andrew Hall and Bobby Koch. They're tag teaming like we're tag teaming on this draft. Jalen Hurts and the quarterback I was lobbying for, Russell Wilson. That's a very interesting room right there. That's a very interesting room. But I like the low key underrated Lamar Jackson, Derek Carr room.
Hmm.
Obviously, you got your heavy hitters, you got your Josh Allen, Kyler Murray's, and then you got your Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and I'm sure the weeks since Herbert and Mahomes playing the same division, those weeks that they play each other is probably going to be, you're probably going to have two
100 points
50-point
between them.
quarterbacks. But but
Exactly.
uh but for not big names, I mean, I think Lamar's still a big name, but Derek Carr I think is a very
Yeah.
very underrated in fantasy. I like
Yeah.
that low key from Policy Gronks there. So as you can see, just by the QBs we read off, and there's QBs on other teams, we are in some we're in some sketchy territory if we don't take a quarterback here. However, since all these quarterbacks are gone, there are some very interesting picks to be had at other positions. So again, just reading off of ADP, that dude we talked about earlier, Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, King Henry, Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook. So some older but proven running backs.
Hmm.
Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb, a lot of running backs going on. Alvin Kamara, who, you know, he could be looking at a 6-game suspension himself. Saquon, we talked about him. Tyreek is still hanging out. Aaron Jones is still hanging out. AJ Brown is still hanging out. So interesting at other positions. Since the and obviously I'm just reading ADP. There's probably some other guys that we would be more interested in than maybe some of the names I read. But the value obviously is to be had still at the running back and wide receiver position since they're being neglected for right now in order to try to build up the quarterback. So, all right, Drew, what are you thinking? What have you looked at? What has caught your eye? Are we going with a quarterback?
Well, if we want to try to do anything this year, we have to. And if we want to do that, then I think you're right that Tom Brady is the way to go. And we pick in 8 picks after this, and we'll have tons of value otherwise. And honestly, by then we may have some more direction based on where our league mates go here. So I'm pretty comfortable going that way if we want to try to make some noise this year. I know you and I talked about, do we kind of punt this year and see if we can get into a better position to get an early pick next year and try to set ourselves up with some younger guys that could carry us along the way. But I don't know. I have a hard time throwing in the towel before a team is fully formed, I guess.
So here's a question, and I know because I put this in the league chat because I think these are fun exercises, and I don't mind letting people who are drafting with us into. I personally don't. I don't know how you feel about it, Drew. I don't mind letting people behind the curtain because this is like. Do you remember? You probably remember those choose your own adventure books.
Mm-hmm.
A startup draft is a choose your own adventure book because guess what? Like we said, we talked about maybe punting it, trying to get the 101, and kind of taking hold of the 2023 draft. Cool. But what happens if we start getting like crazy values? Dude, page 76 may have been punted for the 101, but page 122 might be, hey, let's win this whole damn thing. And we might have picked page 76, and you would read the page, and you die because you walked into some trap, and then you kind of flip back and go, okay, let me go to page 102 now and see, because obviously that was probably the right way to go. And that's what happens in startup drafts. You go, all right, we kind of have this plan. Oh, wait a minute. 16 to 20 of the first 37 picks are quarterbacks. We got to shift gears here. We got to change strategies. We got to do what everyone else isn't doing. So I don't mind talking about this because I don't mind people hearing what we want to do in the moment. Because guess what? Round 5, round 8, round 12, the game might be totally different, and we're talking about a new set of circumstances that we couldn't have foreseen in round 3. If we took Brady here, would you be are you committing yourself then? Because you're committing yourself to win. Are you committing yourself to a quarterback in the 4th then? Because don't you almost to win a super flex, don't you almost need 2 quarterbacks?
Well, I'm going to piss John Hogue off here, but I don't think every league that's what needs to happen. I think in a lot of leagues that's probably how it shakes out. But for our old stats friends here, right, correlation does not mean causation. So just because you had 2 quarterbacks does not mean that is why you won your Superflex league. I know 14-team quarterback feels a lot more urgent, but that means that there are other positions that can make up the points. So that's where I don't know that I would be completely committed to that. I think there's still, I mean, that's what trading's for, right? You know, if somebody has an injury, it's 14-team league, quarterbacks typically harder to trade for. I think Brady knows himself well enough. I don't know. I think there's always a little bit of hubris in these elite athletes that think they can probably go a season or 2 more than they probably should. But I think Tom Brady is probably one of the most in tune, realistic people when it comes to this type of thing. So if he's committing to another year, I've got to believe he's going to play pretty well, and that will always be in demand in a super flex league. So I don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know that we'd be locked into a quarterback next. So I'm not scared about it. I'm not, like I said, I think just like you're saying, we might in the next 8 picks, our league might tell us which direction we have to go next. So, I'm open. But if we're going quarterback, I do agree. I think Brady is it, and I think if he plays like a top 10 quarterback this year, that will still give us a significant edge over 2/3 of our league.
And think about this, man. You said if, right? And honestly, I think the only thing that stops Tom Brady from being Tom Brady is an injury. The dude is every time he steps out on the field, he's at the top of his game. And yes, Chris Godwin's going to be gone for a segment of the season. We don't know how long that's going to be. FYI, he's still got Mike Evans. Tom Brady made a personal pitch to get Russell Gage. Now, do I think Russell Gage is going to be, a Chris Godwin-like player while Chris Godwin is gone? Probably not. But is he an adequate person to have as a wide receiver too while Chris Godwin gets on the mend? Yeah. We saw flashes from him in Atlanta when he needed to step up because there was no one else around. Tight end, who knows? Some people are saying get your K Dot while you can. Other people are saying Cam Brate is that dude. But they still got Lombardi Letty, man. Leonard Fournette. That dude catches passes. He looks like he just ate all he could at an all-you-can-eat buffet. Actually, he looks like he ate all the buffet had. But he catches passes. And he gets you yards. And like Tom Brady still has weapons. Yes, Chris Godwin is hurt. Gronk looks like he retired. I wouldn't be shocked to see in week 4. Gronk comes back and goes, just kidding. I didn't want to do training camp. I just wanted to show up and play. Here we go. And Tom Brady's the type of dude that, there's always crazy cuts every year, to get down to 53 before the season starts. Like, Tom Brady can get just about anybody in the league to come play. What if somebody crazy gets cut that we're not thinking about right now? And it's like Tom Brady goes, "Hey, want to go try to win a Super Bowl?" And it's real coming out of his mouth. It's not, some second or third year quarterback who hasn't had the success saying that. That's Tom Brady, who has more Super Bowls by himself than every NFL team. Like, if he says, "Hey, let's come win a Super Bowl," like, you believe it coming out of his mouth. So, I mean, I think they could even get. I mean, they made Antonio Brown for like a season and a half. Like, that's crazy. Like, nobody since the Steelers had been able to do that. So, I mean, I like Tom Brady. You like Tom Brady. Is there any position player that you're like, you know what? this is better than Tom Brady.
There will
Nope.
be some really good value still at our 405 and 8 picks, no matter which combination of players get taken.
Hey, let's talk about that 405 real quick, though. We got a trade offer. Read that off, and let's talk about that. We talked about it a little bit beforehand, but let's talk about it.
All right, we'll go through this pretty quick here. We got
Yep.
got somebody offering us the 708 and the 1009, and they want our 405 and 1405 in return. And yeah, go ahead.
So this is how I feel about startups. I want as many picks as possible in the top 50. So in a 14-teamer, that's pretty much the first 3 rounds. We weren't able to make any trade backs, unfortunately. We haven't gotten any trades for this pick. I was hoping that that the league would maybe shoot some stuff into our box to try to take this pick from us, but it hasn't happened. I'm just going to double check real quick.
Nope.
We haven't gotten anything. So, getting picks in the first 50 is probably pretty much done for us, which is fine. You know, sometimes you get that stuff, sometimes you don't. I'm not moving back. So 405 is what? 3 times 14
47.
is 47. Pick 47. That's the top 50 pick. I'm not giving that up to move back 3 rounds into the 7th and then move up 4 rounds into the 10th. Because let's face it, this is a 14-team league. You know what's going to happen in the 7th round? We're going to look around. We're going to be like that meme from Pulp Fiction, where we just walk into the room. We're like we're going to look at these guys and we'll be like, oh, man, this is tough. Are there going to be good players there? Yes. But the player pool isn't going to be what it is at 405. And then moving up 4 rounds, dude, yeah, that'll be nice. But what are we getting in the 10th round? You know, almost 140 picks are taken.
Yeah.
There you go. Say you start a 14-team Superflex Premium with Justin Jefferson and Deshaun Watson. Who do you like in the 3rd? Asking for a friend. Aaron, you are our friend. We're in a league with you. We're playing against you, but you're still our friend. So I'm going to be dead honest with you. Who do I like in the 3rd? A quarterback. Because I don't think Deshaun Watson is playing a single game. And a month ago, I would have told you something different. But man, it looks like we're coming. The train is on the track. And we're coming to a full year suspension for Deshaun Watson. So if that's the case, you have an elite wide receiver and no quarterbacks in a 14-team tight end premium Superflex. You're in a very similar position to us. We have no quarterbacks right now. And I think you're in a very similar position. I will grab a quarterback. And you're not going to like it. It is going to stink out loud to take what's left after we take Tom Brady. By the way, we are taking Tom Brady. It is you're not
select player.
Yeah, we're gonna select the player right now. Don't fat finger this, Drew. Don't mess up and get us, Baker Mayfield or somebody like that.
Wait, is Tom Brady different than Thomas Brady?
Listen, I don't care what his government name is. Just make sure you take the right one.
Yeah, Aaron.
Quarterback doesn't look good. I mean, Drew, do you have any other suggestions?
Yeah, I still approach this from I want the value, and I think we cornered ourselves because we know for sure we don't have a quarterback. There's still a possibility that Deshaun Watson might play some this year, and even like you were saying earlier, even if he gets all season, we'll at least know how to value him then. We'll have a better picture. And I think once you get into the season, if you build your team well and, because what's the difference between taking, Jameis Winston now or Zach Wilson in another round and a half.
I don't
But the
think Zach
difference,
Wilson is there for you.
it may not be. It may not be.
That,
Um,
like there's still, I mean, as much as we're talking about a 14-team super flex league, there are a lot of teams still with one quarterback. And that is going to, I mean, we're worried about it because we think it's going to dry up by the time our next pick comes. I mean, Aaron is picking what, a pick or two ahead of us? So if we're worried about it, even in the fourth with what is that, 8 picks in between, he's got to be even more worried about it because let's say he takes Austin Eckler, right? Austin Eckler better value than Zach Wilson or Jameis Winston or Marcus Mariota or whatever quarterback you like. You could literally be sitting at your next pick and the options are Carson Wentz, Davis Mills, Matt Ryan. This is all I'm saying. I mean, now me personally, I would have had that quarterback in the first round. Me personally, because these 14 team, man, they get rough and they get wild. People, they know what the deal is and they get quarterbacks. And I like the upside of Deshaun Watson, but man, what do you think? Like, what do you think the probability is, like percentage wise, that Deshaun Watson plays a single game in 2022?
I don't know. Maybe I'm optimistic. 20%.
Yeah, I'm gonna half it and say 10%. So you're telling him he's got a 20% chance. He's got a 20% chance to have a quarterback for some segment of the season. That is yikes. That is yikes. That is what it is. It's yikes.
Yeah.
And the thing is that as much as you say, hey, does it matter if you wait 8 picks or 9 picks or 10 picks and get your boy Jameis Winston now or get him in 10 picks? The problem is he might not be there in 10 picks. That's when you kind of look at who's between your picks, and see what their quarterback rooms look like. If you got the guy who has Herbert and Mahomes picking, all right, you can cross them off the list. They're not taking quarterback. You got the Josh Allen, Kyler Murray guy, all right, you can cross them off the list. They're not taking a quarterback. But if you got the guy who has just one quarterback on their team and they're looking and they're like, "Whoo, it's looking gross," like they could take a quarterback. Especially if they have 2 picks before you have 1. That's the thing you got to look at. And that's why I said, dude, I'd be grabbing that quarterback. One more on the way out, though. One more on the way out. Oh, by the way, on the trade. If I'm giving up the 405, I need a 5th. I need either a pick later in that round in the 4th. And if you don't have a pick later in that round, I need your 5th. And then I need like your 7th. And I'll give you like a 10th. And we can go with God like that because, again, I don't give up top 50 picks without getting something out of the deal. And a 7th and a 10th, I don't care. I don't care about those guys. I don't. Like, they're going to be on the team. We're making picks in those rounds unless we make trades. We're making picks in those rounds. But, 405, I think, is going to have a lot bigger of an impact on our team than 7 something. Well, but this one on the way out, Lindsey Kennedy, my stubborn ass is picking Dawson Knox now. That if I'm Drew is not going to pick Dawson Knox. You know why? Because he knows deep down in his heart, Dawson Knox on his birth certificate, it says Bob Tonyan, and he don't want that in his life. We already have the tight end 1 in Mark Andrews. Well, we don't need Dawson Knox getting 40 receptions for 500 yards and 3 touchdowns. We don't need that in our life. We want elite upside. Here we go. Aaron said, I don't think Watson is playing this year, but took him with the shot of upside next year and going forward. Hey, in that case, maybe don't take the quarterback. Tank this bad boy. If your thing is, you're getting that upside next year, then build this team for next year. Who's young and hungry that's sitting out there? Find that guy that you like and say, listen, I'll take I'll take a wide receiver in this round, and maybe I'll take Zach Wilson in the next round. He's young. They put some weapons around him. They gave him like 3 tight ends. they took Garrett Wilson. They took Breece Hall. They built around him. So take him and say, hey, maybe all these parts are going to bring Zach Wilson to the next level. And do that in the 4th round. If your plan is kind of like, listen, Watson ain't playing this year, but I got a top 5 quarterback, a top 5 potential quarterback in the 2nd round, and then tank it for that 1-on-1. Just get youth, go young, and roll out. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in, man. It's awesome. We love you guys. A lot of people are, coming in and out of the chat. Aaron, of course, coming in. Lindsay coming in, trying to divide our united front here over Dawson Knox. Listen, the 17th round is far away. We'll talk about Dawson Knox then. Recovering Ridley Truther. Appreciate all you guys. Even if you didn't throw something in the chat, we still appreciate you for coming on, viewing. It means the world to us. Just remember to subscribe, like the video, throw a comment on there. All that stuff matters. And if you didn't do the live thing, hey, thank you for doing the podcast thing. Because if you're listening at this point, you did the podcast thing. An hour and 21 minutes, that's a long time. You could be doing anything, and you decided to spend that time with us. And we appreciate that. Remember, if you tripped and fell, found this, hit subscribe. If you are already subscribed and you can do the rate and review on your podcast directory, please do that. It means the world to us. And Drew, on that note, we are out of here.
Late.